Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is awakening consciousness. And we're going to talk about the challenges that face us as we raise our frequency, as we become more aware, more conscious, and the challenges of interfacing with the mundane that can arise. So it should be an interesting conversation. And good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. So great to have you here with us this morning. And welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we're talking about awakening consciousness. And we're also talking about crisis of meaning and kind of being betwixt and between dimensions, so to speak. So as we raise our frequency, as we become more connected to our essence, to our I think we can safely say spirituality, to a grander notion of the universe and connection to our soul self, and sort of a larger picture of things. It becomes sometimes very difficult to relate to cultural mores and to the mundane. We can look around at the way life is unfolding and just feel very much outside of it. I think that this is probably a pretty common experience for folks who are elevating their consciousness and their frequency, to be able to look at, like, what's important, what are we doing here, what is going on, what's my purpose here, what am I doing with my life? Because we look around and are kind of feeling more like strangers in a strange land. And I would be surprised if you haven't experienced that. Particularly folks who are on a path of awakening. it was really interesting. I was talking to a friend slash client about watching the Super Bowl and the commercials. And it's funny because the one of the biggest features of the Super Bowl that entices and engages folks who aren't necessarily football fans are the commercials, right? And so we were talking about watching the commercials, and personally, I just found standing back and looking like to see what was being advertised, where people were spending inordinate amounts of money for time during the Super Bowl for eyeballs, because there were supposed to be 100 million people watching the Super Bowl. And what kind of commercials were they? What were the things that were being advertised? For the most part, was, I think there was a Dunkin' Donuts commercial with a whole bunch of stars. There was, I didn't watch all of it by any means. There was a shopping channel. There was something like some kind of makeup or something. And good morning, Jennifer. Oh my gosh, it's been a while. Welcome. Anyway, so I was watching that and thinking, what is this? What is this? What kind of culture are we in where these are the messages? People are spending gazillions of dollars to get these messages out to a population, a huge population of people. And what are these messages? What are we prioritizing? What are we making important? It boggled my mind. It boggled my mind, let alone, just the whole notion of the following for, the cult of sports in our country, well, globally, I guess, and how incredibly passionate people are about it. And what I can say for myself, and this other person was experiencing something quite similar, as they're experiencing a more expansive sense of being and awareness, is like, what is going on here? And how in the world how do I fit into this world? There becomes more and more of a disconnect. And I would love to hear if you experience that as well, like, to be, as we become more awake, and hopefully we're becoming less hypnotized by the cultural conventions that are kind of insane on so many levels. Like, we can see the insanity of it. The question becomes, well, what am I doing here? What is my purpose? Where is meaning? And for me, and that's been a question throughout my life, actually. And I think that that's the most important question. And at times I've believed that it was just up to me to make meaning, to find something that I could apply myself to, that I could invest myself in and ascribe meaning to. The one thing that truly resonates for me, and that this other person identified for themselves as well, is awakening consciousness, awakening awareness, sharing that awareness, living into that awareness, elevating the field, each of us, with our awareness, with our consciousness, with the expansion, with the awakening, to be propagating that awakening out into the field. And that, in my experience, is the thing, the purpose, that what we're up to is, or what I'm up to, and what I think a lot of you are up to, is elevating the consciousness on the planet, moving into a space of unity, oneness, connection, moving beyond the so many of the mundane conventions of our material existence, of our material culture, to be stepping back and beyond the mundane of the day-to-day, in that we know that, and if we don't know, many of us at least have a very strong inkling that there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye, that we are bigger than our human experience, that we're spirit having a human experience, and that the workings of the universe, like that as consciousness manifests, that we have much greater capabilities and capacities than we're privy to, for the most part, than we're even able to conceive. And to be moving into that new dimension of experience, where our relationship to the physical is transformed and upgraded as we recognize ourselves as energy and energetic beings that are in an energetic and connected universe, that may be a function of our own projection, our version of consciousness, right? This microcosm of consciousness that each of us is, to be able to expand beyond the perceived limitations, to start recognizing ourselves as the creators that we are, and part of this global, universal, connected web. Rosalind says, models are just models. What feels real is tapping into source. Meditation reminds me of that connection. Beyond that, seeking validation of what is true. What is true? So tapping into source is for me the one true thing. You know, recognizing that the way that we show up in the world, the beliefs, the behaviors, the patterns, the appearances, that all of that is malleable. And it's malleable because there's some kind of unifying essence beneath that. And when we can step back from immersion in the human distractions, it's clear that there's there's something else. There's something else. This conversation with my friend kind of evolved out of the fact that they're going to be going to a Joe Dispenza event. And I'm intending to as well, again, for a second event in June. Anyway, if you haven't heard of Joe Dispenza, check him out. There's a bunch of meditations on YouTube from him, and he's doing really remarkable things by popularizing our ability to really go beyond the limitations that we've been conditioned to really tap into this other dimension of being. And part of that is going into a state of being nobody, nowhere, no one, no time, no thing, to be going into this space of pure being, this space of pure potentiality. And then from that space, creating. And he's taking what has for so long been considered woo-woo and scientificating it. I don't think that that's a word, but doing brain scans and blood work and other kinds of biological monitoring to validate that something profound and dramatic is actually happening when these folks are accessing the other dimensions of awareness and consciousness. And the thing is that when that's the field that you're playing in, when you're playing in this field of the ineffable and the transcendent, integrating into this world and our culture can be a very challenging experience, because the values that are evident in so much of our culture, and the strife and the illusion is so intense and so discordant with that state of presence that navigating the mundane can be pretty challenging at times. And so for me, anchoring into a purpose of elevating consciousness, of being an expression of life, expanding itself, is a super grounding and powerful thing. And the interesting thing was, this conversation came about because within the company that this person works, everybody was making their declarations about what they were creating, what they were committed to, what the future that they were generating was. And my friend said what they were up to was awakening consciousness, but they weren't really able to say that. They said that to me. They didn't feel free to say that in the context of their company. And through our conversation, we came to the awareness that that is the one true thing. That's the one true thing. I mean, all this other stuff, all this other stuff, what is it? It's a rat race in its way, right? It's play. It's the only meaning in it is meaning we make, right? We create the meaning around it, around whatever we do. Like I had this moment of thinking, what am I doing here? What am I doing, and what does anybody do? And I was binging on Netflix, and I was thinking, well, I'm wasting time. What am I doing? And then I thought, well, what does anybody do? What are people doing? People are buying things. People are engaging in activities. People are cultivating relationships. People are doing business. People are helping other people. People are fighting for causes. And in the end, what does any of it mean? Which is a really challenging, provocative question, because it really stirs things up pretty intensely if you seriously engage in it. It's like, on some level, none of it means anything. None of it is any more important than anything else. Unless, and it's still, doesn't make anything necessarily more important than anything else. But if we have a commitment to awakening consciousness, that's a beingness rather than a doing. And that allows us to do anything under that, in the container of elevating consciousness or awakening consciousness. It can be a guide for how we be in the world. And from that beingness comes the impulse for action. That is an expression. An expression of life, an expression of that vital impulse. So in some respect, if it doesn't really matter, like on some level, it doesn't matter what we do, in some way, that gives us permission to do what lights us up, to do those things that are driven by inspiration, to do things that we enjoy, and to have fun with or curiosity about. And for me, whatever that doing is, even if it's binging on Netflix, it's about, the foundation is about awakening consciousness. And so I invite you to grapple with that question. What's it all about, Alfie? What's going on here? And how do we fit in? How do you fit in? What do you create as your purpose, as your meaning? So Rosalind says the peacemaker balances the sage, nymph, creator, tribe, and the stories we tell. So it sounds like that's coming from a certain school or lexicon, because you have these archetypes here, and I'm not sure where they originate, but I like them a lot. Um, I think we get to look at our life, our own life, from a bunch of different perspectives. On the mundane plane, it's one thing, but then there are these other dimensional spaces of being that can inform that mundane plane. And I say this is the time of the reconvening of the coven, not kind of tongue in cheek, because I'm not a Wiccan or a witch of any kind of tradition, but our the awakening, we're finding each other. We're finding the growing up was very lonely for me because I didn't have like-minded people to commune with. And now I'm finding that there are many of us that are helping to elevate the planet and the awareness here. And it's such a gift to be able to share that awakening together. So Rosalind says G.P. Walsh took the 7 chakras and made them into archetypes. I'm forgetting one of them. Oh, very cool, Rosalind. Thank you. And Rosalind says, Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you for sharing you and these morning musings. Thank you so much, Rosalind, and happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Let's find our path to loving ourselves, loving each other, and loving life. So with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel and my Facebook page. And I invite you to please like and follow the YouTube channel for EWN and for me. The links are in the description. And as always, I'm so grateful to be able to share this time together and explore the universe arm in arm. So until next time.